Pesukei, we were speaking about how important it is not to make interruptions between Baruch Shamar all the way till after Amidah, till after Tahanun. But there's a special halachot of what you're allowed to answer between Baruch Shamar to Yishtabach. So first of all, we want to clarify that the earliest time a person can say Baruch Shamar and Yishtabach, which are brachot, which has Hashem's name in it, is dawn. No one's allowed to say Baruch Shamar with a bracha before dawn. And Ovadia also writes in Yechavedad that the latest to say Baruch Shamar and Yishtabach is the latest time to say the Amidah. So they're the end of the fourth halachic hour of the day, the latest time for Shachrit. If a person passes that time, he cannot say Baruch Shamar Yishtabach with Hashem's name. If he's praying, let's say, Amidah very late, he wasn't able to pray earlier, so he does not say Hashem's name, Baruch Shamar Yishtabach. Also, Baruch Shamar Yishtabach are brachot that are meant to be before Amidah. If a person, let's say, came very late to synagogue and he had to go and skip part of the prayers to catch Amidah with the minyan, if he goes back afterwards, after Amidah, to say all the prayers he missed, he does not say Baruch Shamar Yishtabach with Hashem's name. He has to say without Hashem's name, because it's not instituted to be said after Amidah. It's only instituted to be said before the Amidah. Also, woman, since we explained before that there's a time limit to what time to say Baruch Shamar Yishtabach, so it comes out that women who are not obligated in this mitzvah, because it's a time-bound mitzvah, if women want to say the Baruch Shamar Yishtabach, they have to say without Hashem's name. Because women who are exempt in the time-bound mitzvah, they're not allowed to make a bracha on that mitzvah, even if they wanted to. Ashkenazim have a custom for Tosafot that they allow women to make bracha on Lulav, to make bracha on Sukkah, to make bracha on the Baruch Shamar Yishtabach. But according to Sfaradim, Ovadia explains that we follow the Rambam, that you're not allowed to make a bracha on a time-bound mitzvah as a woman. So therefore, women who pray, they have to pray from a woman's siddur, a Sephardic woman's siddur. That way they know which parts of the prayers they're allowed to say, which ones they're not allowed to, and they don't want Chas V'Shalom them to make a blessing in vain. So therefore they have to skip Hashem's name when they say Baruch Shamar and Yishtabach. And then in regards to interruptions, if a person says Baruch Shamar already, and he's in the middle of Pesukei DeZimra, and he hears Kaddish, so the halacha is he's allowed to answer the first 5 amenim. The first 5 amenim of the Kaddish is the most important, and all the extra parts of the Kaddish afterwards he does not answer. Those are the most critical, the first 5 amenim. Also, if a person he hears Kedusha, he's allowed to just answer Kadosh, 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 and Baruch Hashem, and Baruch Kevod Mekomo, and then you have also Yimloch. So those are the 3 parts he's allowed to answer. He should not answer all Nakdishach, Menaritzach. He should not be answering that whole thing. Just answer the critical parts he has to answer. Also, if he hears someone say a bracha, Asher Konin Dvaro, he hears somebody say La'aniach Tefillin, all these things, he's allowed to say Amen to those brachot during the Pesukei DeZimra. If a person needs to say, he went to the bathroom and he needs to say Asher Yatzar, preferably he should say Asher Yatzar after Yishtabach before he starts Yotzer Or. But if he's going to forget, the Rabbi also writes, they're allowed to say Asher Yatzar also in the middle of the Pesukei DeZimra. It's also considered praising Hashem. So therefore he says it's not a critical interruption. But you see that other besides for these laws of interruption, the person not interrupt for anything else, for sure not to speak. For sure, even in times of the Gemara, there's a whole Mishnah in Masechet Brachot about if you're allowed to greet somebody. Let's say you see your mentor, let's say you see your father. The Gemara says, the Mishnah says, you were able to go and speak to them in the middle of Shema even. Why? Because you're obligated to give them kavod. But the poskim write today that everybody understands that we're in tefillah and they're mohel. Usually they forgive, and therefore a person can stand up, but the person is not supposed to speak and say, "Oh, how are you?" and speak to somebody, no matter who he is, during the tefillah. That obviously is to be avoided. But you see, it's important to pay attention not to make interruptions during the Pesukei DeZimra. There's the yahrzeit today was Ovadia alav shalom, and now it's ending. Just want to mention a few stories, if we can, for his chuto should be protecting us with Hashem. There's one story about how the Bar Ilan University came out with a system that you could search any topic or any words in all the Torah literature. So they asked Ovadia one time, after they got the Bar Ilan system, they said, Ovadia, how many times does a certain topic come up in response in the Achronim? So he said it comes up 23 times. If you could look at 23 different sources, it talks about this topic. So then they put it in the machine, put it in the system, and it came up 24 sources. So they saw already was missing one. They found out which one was he missing. He was missing Yabi Omer. He didn't quote Rabbi Omer. So he didn't quote his own book. His own book he forgot to quote. So that's why he was missing source number 24. And there's another story, that's a very powerful story, how his Rabbi Ovadia's rabbi was Rabbi was Rosh Shiva Porat Yosef. And every time he would, in the beginning, a lot of times he would bring his tshuvot, his response, his thesis, his essays, he would bring them to his rabbi, Rabbi Zeratia, to see if he agrees. And if he would agree, he would keep it, he would publish it. But if he didn't agree, there was a famous story one time that he didn't agree with what Ovadia said, and Ovadia ripped it up on the spot. He said, it's okay, this is geniza. This is not going to be used. If my rabbi doesn't agree, I don't do it. Even Ovadia, who was, he is the master teacher for all of us, he himself also had a rabbi. To teach us how important it is, no matter who you are, you also have to have a rabbi, because we all can be biased to ourselves. We need to have somebody who gives us guidance. Baruch